Hey MicroStation crew, it's Mr. Krabs55 here, and today I'm going to be talking about a childhood tragedy that starts with two simple words. Ice Age. With the upcoming 6th movie, this franchise has practically been an animation juggernaut. It has skyrocketed animation studio Blue Sky Studios into the public eye ever since their first movie, Ice Age 1, hit cinema. Now, unfortunately, as you may have heard, Disney bought out 20th Century Fox and shut down Blue Sky Studios after buying them out, claiming they were too expensive to own during the funny disease. And now, with Disney being Disney, they made a 6th film without any of the original voice actors except for a Buck and no Blue Sky employees, but that's a topic for a different day. Today, it's time to talk about all the Ice Age merchandise, more specifically, the video games. There were a total of 10 games officially being released by Blue Sky, 4 of them being mobile games, and the rest of them actually being playable, so let's get into them, shall we? You know, just to commemorate a bygone era. Now, this is the first on our list, Ice Age 1 for Game Boy Advance, released by Artificial Mind and Movement, later changed to Behavior Interactive due to their old name sounding like a community guidelines violation. Now, this game is a 2D platformer with auto-running sections, and it's, well, not that good. Yeah, who would have guessed? Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk small stuff. The game's plot is basically the first movie's plot. In fact, almost every game has the plot from the movie it's based off of. The newly made herd have to deliver the cringe-ass Ice Age baby to its human family, all the while avoiding an ambushing saber-toothed cat pack attack, as they attempt to get revenge on the same crowd of humans due to them wiping half their pack. Sure, it certainly has hints of this storyline, but it's barely there. Just still images with no text. The music? Well, I'll have to give it this. I do quite enjoy it. It's peppy and upbeat. I don't exactly get the music style choice here. It's army-esque, but it kind of fits, which I find super strange to say out loud. And hey, a few tracks kind of slap, but, well, the rest of the soundtrack is kind of just there. Well, aside from that, what is the gameplay like? Well, you get to only play as 2 characters, not Diego. He's a checkpoint, and not even Scrat. He's an enemy for some reason. No, you get to play as Manny and Sid, with Manny taking up the majority of the game and Sid having a few auto-running sections. As Manny, you can jump, attack with your trunk, ground pound, and make the cringe-ass Nene baby jump off of Manny's back to collect acorns. Oh yeah, acorns are a main form of health in this game. You get depleted when you get hit. If you lose them all, you have to start again from the nearest checkpoint, kinda like Sonic's rings. If you manage to not get hit at any time throughout the levels, you get a golden acorn. And if you get all golden acorns in every single level, okay, number 1, I pray for your sanity. Number 2, you get a secret final level with some really good music. And 3, this is one of those old GBA games which use passwords, so you could just go online to find the password to take you there and save your soul. You get walnuts that shoot out from your trunk at specific enemies in your way, making them, well, die a horrible death. You can find stuff like skunks which make you levitate in the air for some reason. And there are certain enemies that you have to ground pound next to them to flip them over and then jump off their backs to bounce off them. The bosses are really weird too. I mean, the music's really menacing, but other than that, you just hit them over and over, except for this bird. But yeah, that's really it. It's kind of an underwhelming game in my personal opinion. I mean, I get that this is the first ever game made for this franchise, but they could have put a bit more effort in this game. I don't know. I'll pass up on this. Let's move on to the second movie, due to this being the only game based on the first film, continuing with Ice Age 2: The Meltdown. Ice Age 2 follows the trio, Manny, Sid, and Diego, as they get word of a biblical flood from a slick business armadillo who is literally just Jay Leno's persona, which is hilarious. Anyway, he says all this due to wanting attention and that sweet cash. What he doesn't know is what he says is true, and the clock is ticking to get to the other side of the valley to find a gargantuan piece of bark which all the animals use as a boat to save them before the dam bursts open. Along the way, Manny gets the word of extinction from an anteater and luckily meets a quirky female mammoth with a massive identity crisis on the way there. Diego overcomes his fear of water from Sid, and Sid himself getting worshipped by a sacrificial tribe. Oh, yeah, also, spoiler alert, Scrat fucking dies, LMAO. With the plot synopsis out of the way, it's time to talk about the trio of Ice Age 2 games continuing on the GBA. This version was developed by Sierra and is quite strange. So let me lay this down for you. At the beginning of every world, with there being 5 in total, there is a Scrat level with admittedly killer music. Actually, the majority of this game's music is unironically amazing. Almost every track hits here, from Scrat Swing, Peaceful and Perilous Pass, Perilous Pass Slips, and Volcanic. Are such good and atmospheric listens, they really help you concentrate in this game. The game's composer is Ian Stalker. He uploaded the full OST on his YouTube channel with the same name. Go give it a listen, it's very good. I commented on it and asked what the vibe was for the soundtrack, and he told me it was David Newman-esque, and yeah, I can definitely hear it, it's phenomenal. Anyway, past my musical tangent, how are the Scrat levels? I can't believe I'm quoting this damn guy, but...
Yep, that's Sonic. It's Sonic!
Yeah. Also, sorry for quoting this monster. It's literally just Sonic. You go super fast collecting acorns instead of rings. You can sit down to destroy certain walls. The first Scrat level even has these. Hell, you even lose acorns the same way you do rings. Plus, later Scrat levels are hell to finish. There are bottomless pits and huge spike traps on the floor. Like, how the hell do you even play this? It's like a kid trying to make his own Sonic troll level. It's terrible! Anyway, after finishing every Scrat level, an animation plays every time, showing him getting hurt in a comic way. Hooray! Death! Anyway, that's only one level of each world, like I said. So what's the rest of the game? You won't be able to guess. It's a puzzle game. You have to juggle 3 characters, Manny, Sid, and Diego, all with distinct abilities and biological weaknesses, and you have to take them all to a cave at the end of the level, all under 30 minutes, because if you don't, Crash and Eddie mock you and the game asks you if you want to skip the level. Already off to a good start! You have to go through an obstacle-filled open area full of animals to optionally collect, and when I say open, I mean it, because, my lord, some of these levels can be massive! I mean, sure, there is a workaround. As to where you press a button, I forgot which one, you get these eyes in the bottom corner and you're able to freely look around with the D-pad, but it still doesn't excuse how big these levels are. Going back to these 3 characters, they all interact with their environment with a rock-paper-scissors-esque style. One character can use this obstacle while another cannot. For example, these brambles can only be destroyed by Diego, while only Manny and Sid can swim. The way you get Diego past bodies of water is by putting Manny in them first, and then Diego will jump on his back. Speaking of Manny, he can push blocks of rock and ice around, and he can push them on geysers. The more rocks covering up other geysers, the higher and more pressurized the geyser on the uncovered one will go, meaning the higher the character riding on it will go. It's pretty complicated, so I won't get into a lot of detail in this video. If you're interested, go play this game on your own, but here are my thoughts on it. I mean, sure, most of the game is slow, but it can be kind of satisfying and fun to get that aha moment. It's kind of an acquired taste, and besides all I said, I don't think I can give this game a full-on review. Play it if these games are your style. Continuing with our handheld streak, it's time to talk about the game I've been dreading to play and talk about. It's time to talk about Ice Age 2 for DS. Now, this game, well, it blows. It's atrocious. It is a dumpster fire, and that's why I love it. It was made by the same people who made the GBA game, and it is quite jarring to see the drop of quality from one to the other. No voice acting, except for voices who sound like they have a mental condition. No cutscene, except for a slideshow of shitty JPEGs with generic text on the bottom, and when I say generic, I mean it. It's so bad it feels like Kingdom Hearts dialogue. In the actual game, let's just get this over with. You have huge levels, in which you have to find a tiny microscopic item or two, whether it be Scrat on the first level, Crash and Eddie on the second, and the boss token on the third. You can increase your score by rescuing animals all before it happens. You have this flood gauge on the second screen, which rises as time goes on. When it goes all the way up, it's game over and you have to restart the level. You have to change characters by going on character pads, with each having their own gimmicks, just like the GBA version. Manny, being the powerhouse, can push rocks around and break stones and ice, push conveniently placed flat platforms to make bridges and walk over them and attack carnivorous plants. Diego was the most agile one, being the only character to be able to jump off these platforms with the orange spirals on them, while the blue ones can be jumped across by everyone. Diego can also claw at dead trees to gain acorns and snowflakes. We'll get to those too later. Sid is the oddball of the trio, being able to climb on marked walls, tightrope off thin platforms that can set ice chunks and dead foliage ablaze. Everyone can jump on certain moving platforms in the water, again, with blue spirals, and can jump on and off boulders on geysers. Now, going back to the snowflakes and the acorns, these things help out to delay the flood gauge. Gaining 50 acorns allows you to get a blue snowflake, as well as being able to find them around the map, although very scarcely. In order to find the target in the levels, you have to follow a path of golden acorns. Blue snowflakes allow you to decimate the flood gauge, giving you way more time to find more things to collect, so use them wisely. Purple snowflakes only get rid of the flood gauge partially, so they can be used pretty well. A huge problem about this game is backtracking. It's even worse since this is a time management game. A great example of this is the second to last level of the game, where, of course, it's a Crash and Eddie level. So that's already off to a good start. And yeah, the golden acorns can lead you to one of the opossums, but the other... it just kind of goes bonkers at one point of the trail and makes you think, all under this strict-ass time limit in this big-ass map. Turns out, the last opossum is here, at the other side of the damn map on an island. So you have to wait for platform after platform, again, all under a time limit, and it's even worse if you're that sick bastard who wants to 100% this game, and if you do, I pray for your sanity. Then you also have to find all the animals on top of the time limit, so when you hear the patent-pending "you're fucked" drums, you have to rush to find more snowflakes or acorns, and maybe a blue snowflake if God likes you on that specific day. You also have to do these specific things with specific characters, which are specific character pads, and... I don't think I've ever raged this badly on a game like this. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Do you want to know what those other two spots on the map are? Literally on every single world, they're mini-games! One of them being a reverse whack-a-mole, having to drag the acorns one by one to Scrat, and the other one having to flip cards dung beetles are holding to convince Ellie she's a mammoth, not an opossum. It's a weird one. Anyways, last thing to talk about are the boss battles. I forgot to talk about the bosses on the GBA because they really weren't that memorable. Being basically raft battles, using Sid to steer, Manny to use a long-range attack, and Diego to use a short-range claw swipe. You can basically cheese all these by spamming both attack buttons, and it's not like the game will patronize you for it. Also, screw you, Maelstrom. Anyways, back to this travesty. You pull back Manny's trunk to chuck an infinite amount of snowballs at the sea monsters from the movie Cretaceous and Maelstrom. You can strafe Manny left and right with a D-pad, but it doesn't matter, because you could just snipe these damn things by just waiting and shooting off the iceberg you're standing on. But if they do attack you while you're on said iceberg, it is of course game over, so I would recommend moving around at a bare minimum. They attack by charging at your icebergs, but you can rebuild them with rogue ice flowing by sometimes. And yeah, what you're seeing isn't a beta build, it's real. Just try to find the health bar, I dare you. Did you think it was that tiny, indiscriminate red bar at the top? Well, if you thought so, then congratulations. You probably already played this game and have suffered with me, or you just have common sense. Anyway, yeah, this game is the pits, but I love it so much. I love how bad it is, and I would love for more people to bathe in its garbage-y game design, visuals, and actually alright and listenable music. I think it's the only genuinely good part of this game. Other than that, this sucks. I want to see not only people speedrun this game, but for them to 100% it if possible. Please, for the love of God, someone put this game on speedrun.com. Anyways, on to the next game, and it's one you most likely all know of. Now, this is the Ice Age game most people know of, and have possibly even played at some point. It, of course, follows the plot of the movie, but with some added minor plot points and with a twist. You play as Scrat throughout the entirety of the game. It's actually quite refreshing to play as Scrat for a change, and the game itself? It's okay. Hell, I'd probably say it's good. It's platforming with light puzzles and minigames. The game's soundtrack and even gameplay is actually, pun immensely intended, chill. It sounds very nice with the accompanying gameplay, light strings, woodwinds, vocals, and percussion. You can double jump, ground pound, attack, and even use a special attack, depleting this bar up here as time goes on. You can replenish it by sniffing for fruits. Oh yeah, sniffing! Scrat has this little icon here that changes from time to time, and when it looks like this, hold on a specific button. If it shows a scent trail, follow it and forage in where the trail is coming from to get a fruit. Your main collectible in this game are nuts, of course, with these conkers being the most valuable ones to collect. There are a few pretty fun minigames. My favorites are the Eviscerator, the Tapir minigame, and this creepy-ass Maelstrom eye game. What the fuck is this thing? Going back to the Maelstrom minigame, Scrat can use rocks as projectiles, which can be pretty useful to deal with certain enemies that are pain in the asses, but otherwise still useless. I just ground pound them. I rarely use my special attacks, if at all. I mean, sure, there is a giant enemy spider boss fight later on, but you're basically required to ground pound it, so I don't even know where I was going with this. Anyways, looking at the cast of the characters, most of them are actually voiced by their normal actors. Even Dennis Leary is back, although Queen Latifah isn't back to voice Ellie, so that kind of sucks. But to compensate, some big-name voice actors come in to voice minor background characters, like Tara Strong, and the guy who voices Wacko Warner in the modern voice of Crash Bandicoot. Now, one thing I want to say about this game is, for some reason, the game just ends abruptly after performing a live colonoscopy, and asks you to save the game, and then that's the end. I don't get it. If you like games that are more on the relaxing side, I'd recommend this one. It's not difficult, it's not deep, it's not some grandiose adventure, it's just the complete opposite. Just some nice relaxing gaming comfort food. Ice Age 3 shows how Manny and Ellie are gonna have a baby, Peaches. Meanwhile, Scrat finds love and dumps his acorn, and they treat it oddly seriously, which is one of the funniest scenes in the film. Sid finds T-Rex eggs as the mother comes out from under the ice to snatch them up and Sid along with her, so it's up to the gang to explore this new and unknown world with the best character in the whole franchise, Don't At Me. Going back to the handhelds, Ice Age 3 on the DS is, well, yet another platformer, and wow, this one is a colossal step up from Ice Age 2. Scrat actually looks like Scrat instead of... What is he in this game? Some sort of anti-PS1 hairball? It's, of course, another platformer, and I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it. On one hand, after suffering PTSD from playing that previous abomination on handheld, it surely is one hell of a step up, but on the other hand, it has the same problem as Mario 64 DS. You can't really make a 3D platformer on a console that has this as its main form of controls. Thankfully, not only does totally legal ways of playing this game like this exist, but level design like this is kind of far and few between. It's mostly 2.5D with 3D-ish moments, although not as common as the 2.5D stuff. You start off the game with a cutscene with better-looking models, although Diego's face looks like oatmeal. But hey, John Leguizamo is actually back to play as Sid. He basically tells Peaches a campfire story about Buck and his adventures. Speaking of which, you start the game off as him, as you learn his moves. You can jump, roll, and then jump for a higher jump, cling onto walls, do wall jumps, climb on vines, ground pound, stab enemies with his trusty Rudy Tooth dagger, and you can even use throwable objects. You can even use your whip to spin around in these marked hoops, and if you get the hang of it, get it? It can be really satisfying to swing around in a full circle and also being able to go super high up in the air. Going back to the projectiles, you start off with the stanky fruit grenades at first, but you get more types the more you play. You get grenades by ground pounding these flowers here. There are collectibles too. You start off with these crystals, which can be used outside of the game and in the menus to buy and unlock certain stuff, like bonus levels and cheats. You also have Zelda-esque heart pieces, which work the same way. The more you collect to fill out this heart right here, the closer you are to getting another heart of health. The last are acorns. Once you collect them, it plays a cutscene where Scrat gets into his usual slapstick shenanigans and gets hurt. And hey, Scrat actually looks like Scrat this time. Honestly, a pretty good model for the DS. Anyway, if you collect the needed amount, you'll unlock a Scrat bonus level. I'll get back to those later. There are enemies, even on the first level. You start off with these freaky-looking worm things, but you faced against dinos later on. There are other levels as well, not just with Buck. There are Sid levels, which suck, and the aforementioned Scrat levels, which are After every buck level, there's a boss fight against Rudy, with each having different mechanics to make them feel unique. The first one is easy, where you just have to ground pound his snoot, and when his mouth is open, throw a fruit grenade in it. Watch out for his bites and you'll be all good. The next level introduces you to lots of new things, but right off the bat, it introduces you to the acorns and melee dagger attack. You have to follow the light coming off these crystals to progress. What I really like about this game in terms of detail is that you can slice open plants not only to progress, but also as a way to get crystals. There are big fungus introduced, which need 3 swipes to get rid of, pineapples, which give Buck 3 hearts, and a new spitting plant enemy, which can be used in an upcoming Rudy battle. There are fruits which fall from the top of the screen as well. Once you're done with this level, here we go. The aforementioned said level, you have to use the stylus to pull down, like using the screen as a slingshot, in order to fling fruits at dinosaurs, which will interrupt the baby T-Rex's sleep. If they get awoken, just have to use the microphone in order to calm them down. Just do that until all the dinos are gone and the level's over. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. The problem for me is that when I was a kid, my mic never worked, so it was practically impossible for me. Well, to put it lightly, it's not that bad looking back. Anyway, after we trudge through that, we get another buck level. This level introduces climbing and a new projectile, being slime balls. You get them by killing these purple worm things. They're also a new dinosaur enemy. You kill them by ground pounding on them to make them dizzy, and throw a slime ball in their mouth. The way they die is really creepy. It's just them kneeling down like they're gonna pray, and then they just disappear. Anyway, you continue and find yourself platforming in a river rapids, jumping on moving logs and dissolving lily pads, and damn, I'll give the game this. While the game is sort of generic in the gameplay department, the graphics are pretty stunning for the DS, especially for its shovelware type genre. Anyways, there are walls where you have to fill in the empty spaces with slime balls, and afterwards you get the aforementioned Rudy battle, where you have to use the spitting plant enemies in order to hit Rudy, which, you know, totally isn't a pain in the ass at all. But once you trudge through this battle, you get another buck level, which shows the carnivorous plant from the film, which definitely didn't get fetishized. Ugh. Moving on, this level also introduces a new plant enemy, which slams down and spins around to attack. Just shunk it and you'll be all good. You can even use a stanky fruit grenade to stun them. You also get to meet a new dino enemy that's Triceratops. He charges at you like a bull and you have to make him crash into logs in your way. Next is another Sid level. Let me just... There we go. Moving on, the next level introduces the sticky plant enemy, and if you get stuck in it, you have to wiggle the stylus around. You can even get some juice from this plant here to recover yourself and avoid being stuck. But you lose the juice once you get hit. You also get introduced to another projectile, being cactus grenades. You get this late for good reason. They're OP as hell. They insta-kill plants and frighten dinosaurs. Next level you fight the carnivorous plant. Here's how it goes. You collect cactus grenades and throw it at this weird bulbous thing moving left and right. Once you get a hit, it moves to the middle, and then you have to lasso it down to the floor. Once it's on the floor, you have to slice it 3 times. Do this 5 times and you're golden. But be careful of the weird vine tentacle things that sprout up from the holes in the ground. The next level is honestly pretty cool. It's another buck stage where he follows a bunch of slime drawings on the walls. You have to deal with some annoying-ass pterodactyl enemies while platforming off of mushrooms and dodging geysers. You fall down this hole and everything changes. The music changes, most of the obstacles change, the visuals change as well. It's a really cool level, the music is really atmospheric and freaky, and you've also got to deal with these falling slugs and stalactites, and a variety of the slugs with spikes on top, so ground pounding will hurt you. Not even slicing them will do. You gotta use the cactus grenades and then ground pound them when they're stunned. You can also ground pound next to it to stun it. Oh, hey, nice missing polygon. You get to a giant queen slug boss where you have to use a stank bomb on it, then hit its stomach with a cactus grenade. Keep doing that until she's gone. Next level and... Actually, wait, this one isn't that bad. Moving on. The next level introduces the final grenade, the red grenade.
How original!
Put these on certain marked walls to attract the Triceratops. There's an annoying maze and a new type of dino, which you can't kill. You have to rub yourself in mud to have their scent, like the sticky plants from earlier. After this one, we get another banger level, one where you have to run away from Rudy and fight him afterwards. You have to mark his legs red and then get the Triceratops to ram into him. Once he's stunned, put a stank bomb in his mouth. Really cool level. Next level, and... wait, I stand corrected, you can kill these dinos. The same way as those freaky praying ones from earlier, with the same creepy paused frame death animation and all. There's some fun collecting, free-falling segments, and some lava portions, and yeah, it's an interesting level. After this, I won't say anything. Now onto the last level before the final boss. It starts off with a ride on a pterodactyl where you have to Flappy Bird and press B to go up. You can also pick up cactus grenades to pelt the other pteros with. You can also use the D-pad to move left, right, and down. This level is cool and intense with sinking platforms and such. Now onto the final battle against Rudy, and it was underwhelming. Just make the stalactites fall on him and stank bomb him 3 times. That's it. But we aren't done yet. I also want to show off the shop, where you can get infinite health, camo, ammo, and improved ground pound. You can pay for them using the crystals you collected throughout the levels. Not to mention, you can get more Sid levels! You can't make me! That was Ice Age 3 for the DS, and whoa, it's a mixed bag. For the great graphics of this system, the cute Scrat mini cutscenes every time you collect an acorn, almost the entire voice cast returning except for Buck and Diego, and the really high quality and good, not great, music. There's also the Sid levels, Scrat levels, and kind of boring and generic gameplay. If you want to, go check this out for yourself, but for me, I won't lose any sleep knowing that I finished a childhood roadblock of mine. Now, it's time for the main course, the meat and potatoes, the Biggie cheese.
Mr. Bombastic. We want some bombastic, romantic, fantastic lover. She call me Mr. Boom.
Stop. I'm not going to continue this joke any further. It's time to talk about Ice Age 3 for consoles and PC. While sure it may have some problems that I'll get into later, I won't deny that this game is unironically awesome. And that's not the nostalgia talking. This game still holds up. It follows the plot of the movie, with a tiny few extra beats thrown in here and there, like Sid baby-proofing the playground to prepare for the birth of Peaches, and exploring a cave after trying to find friends. Just like me, for real. Once again, just like the DS version, almost every voice actor reprises their role except for Diego and Buck. You start the game off as Sid, being able to jump, double jump, ledge grab, spin attack, and throw pine cones! Your main collectible is fruit, cherries being the smallest amount, pears, apples, and the mythical pineapple being worth way more. The only exception being strawberries, which are used to replenish health. You use your fruits to trade with Jay Leno Armadillo, who isn't voiced by Jay Leno unfortunately, and he's not even in the 3rd film. Why the hell is he here? To get upgrades like increased health and ammo, new minigames, and crystals, which I'll explain later. I also forgot the for fun upgrades, like being able to increase the size of fruits and crystals, and a pathetic fisheye lens. You can also collect crystals, which I just brought up. They will unlock bonus content, like concept art, the music player, and model viewer. Although, when you get a lot of these crystals when you finish a level, you get one of the most satisfying sounds in the whole damn game. Oh, goddamn, that's so good. Anyway, after the first level where you learn how to control Sid and get to beat a bunch of dodos with snowballs, you get to baby-proof the playground, like what I said earlier. It's really easy, but nostalgic as hell. You've got to do 3 things, which are to melt the icicles in this cave, throw mud at sharp rocks, and to throw piles of leaves onto rocks on the floor. I don't see how that's gonna help much. After doing that, you actually get to play as Manny. Whoa! You have to kill beavers in your way and remove tree stumps by button mashing. After that, that's the end of playing as Manny. I mean, for the whole goddamn game. I'm not kidding. Diego has the same problem, but again, I'll get back to it. To end the level off, you've got to make the Mega Serops Carl and Frank destroy a bunch of rocks by riding on their backs as Sid. What I love about this game is the dialogue and the delivery by the voice actors is on point, especially lines by Sid. John Leguizamo is a legend, and I can clearly hear how important Sid is to him, and it's just adorable to hear the passion of his voice oozing out, even for a licensed game like this one.
I got an idea.
Does this idea include me?
If you can get on one of their backs, you can guide them into the rocks.
This is what happens when I wake up before noon.
The next level is the aforementioned one and only Diego level. You've got to chase the gazelle just like the scene from the film, and you've got 2 minutes to do so. You've got ice which will slip you up, so you can use a drift move that only appears here. After Diego epic fails, you get to another Sid level, the aforementioned Sid not having friends level. It's lengthy, but kind of fun, especially for a cave level. You gotta follow wind wisps in order to navigate your way through this underground labyrinth, avoiding mole hogs, bats, and giant enemy spiders along the way. There are bouncy mushrooms and a mixed bag of one-liners from Sid, some funny.
Well, it's better to be alone in a cave than alone in a cave with spiders. Okay, could be worse. I mean, you could be allergic to caves.
And some that don't make any sense.
Suddenly I got a burning desire to roast marshmallows.
What? You live in prehistory. How the fuck? Never mind. Some of the films had cringeworthy dialogue anyway, so I guess it just fits in line with the film. Anyway, once Sid finds the dinosaur eggs, you get to one of my favorite levels in the game, being Egg Roll. You gotta roll the dino eggs through all 3 obstacle courses, each increasing in difficulty, of course. There is so much going on in these levels that it's just so damn fun to traverse through them, like moving platforms, snow which accumulates on your egg, which is used to bridge over gaps, logs which you have to jump over, winds, half pipes, and even bumper battles against dodos. It's really engaging and fun, and matched with the chipper music, it's kind of magical to be honest. After having a blast bringing Sid the eggs that he totally didn't steal, we get to another different game genre, being a Crash Bandicoot-style chase segment, with there being only 2 of these in the whole game. Mama T-Rex is here to get her babies back, and you don't want to get chomped on. But, really hate to say this, but Crash, as much as I love you in your games, I think this game nailed the chaotic feeling of a dino chase way better than you. Who would have thought? A licensed game beat Crash Bandicoot at one of his staple styles. I'm saying this because there's so much going on. Animals running away from Mama, Mama herself actually destroying parts of the scenery. You can side slide to avoid her chomps, and there's even an ice sliding segment. And also, these segments feel way faster than Crash's chases. Anyway, next level is our first Scrat level, of there being 3, and wow, these levels have such kick-ass soundtracks it's not even funny. These are 2D segments. Wow, another genre change. These levels are sick, some of my favorites in the whole game. Scrat has a kick, a double jump, a ledge grab, and a spin attack. His moves get way better as the level go along, but I'll get to them later. Also, what I love about these levels is that their titles sound like old Looney Tunes cartoons, like Scrat's Jungle Jive or Scrat's Tar Pit Trouble. Really amazing detail. After that, we're out of the Ice Age world and enter into the hidden world, the land of the dinos. And here's where the gameplay completely shifts. Instead of playing as Sid, you now play most levels as Buck. And instead of tedious platforming with slow melee combat, you get quick platforming with whip combos and firearms in the form of flowers. Yes, shooties. In an Ice Age game. This game just keeps on giving, let me tell you. You start off with a whip, which you can either spam or you can get good and make the combos I've talked about before. You can also get the Lychee grenades and your first ever plant blaster. There's also some really cool times where you can scurry on vines, and it sucks that this is barely brought up because yes, while disorientating, it's really fun and makes you feel like a weasel. Speaking of vines, there are some really awesome vine sliding segments with banger music to boot. You can tilt from left to right and can jump from vine to vine when given the chance, making these parts of the level really exhilarating fun. Okay, a side note, I adore Buck's controls as compared to Sid. Buck is more combat oriented and you can strafe and lock onto targets while shooting, making the ways you can switch between actions and attacks so much more fun and snappy. Sure, it's not ultra deep, but it sets the bar high for a game genre that usually has the lowest of the low. It makes you think, should I take it easy and shoot from afar, or take my sweet time? Or should I go up close and personal, but also risk losing health? And to me, that's really interesting seeing a licensed game do that. The next level sees you traveling the carnivorous, plant-infested jungles, attacking plants and platforming off of leaves and shrubberies. When you get too close to Venus flytraps, you get to do the QuickTime events. Yes, QTEs in Ice Age. This game has no right to slap as hard as it does. The platforming is real fun, with huge jumps and leaps, not to mention wall running and jumping. You've got a really cool platforming section where you have to climb on leaves to scale a giant tree, and this level also introduces you to the lamest weapon in the whole game, the squirt flower. Oh my. Anyways, all this thing does is squirt water and occasionally tree sap. It deals no damage and is only situational. You can jam you up the tree where you fight... Ew, I hate wasps. It is so satisfying to destroy these scary, flying bastards, and their hive too. You can get a new grappling swing move for your whip, and another vine slide, which is always nice to see again. You finish the level off with a fight against a bunch of dinos and dragonflies, and an Ankylosaur boss. He's real easy, just shoot and grenade, and when he charges, just strafe away. The next level is an entire boss fight against the carnivorous plant, and trust me, it's way better than the boring as hell DS1. You start off by killing its spitting plants, a ground whip will one-shot them. Then come another round of spitting plants. You know what to do. Next, you've got to destroy the pod valve thingies with lychee grenades. Every pod you destroy leaves behind a spitting plant. There we go. And after that, shoot the big red petals until they wilt. Then, once you get button prompt, use your lasso to slam it down by button mashing. You gotta avoid plant juice being rained upon you doing so. After all the petals are gone, attack the freaky vine things. Don't get too close and one-shot them with your grenades. After that, you're nearly done. You have to cover yourself in this plant's fluid, and then, once one of the vines slams itself on the floor and gets stuck, quickly climb onto it and go inside the plant to end the battle. Honestly, while kinda repetitive, it was a pretty good battle. Exhilarating with all the projectiles you have to dodge, with some really intense music. It's leagues better than the boring-ass DS battle. And yes, I know it's comparing a 3 Michelin star potato to a raw potato, but that's besides the point. After fighting the carnivorous plant, we get the second to last Scrat level, being Scrat's Jungle Jive, and it's easily one of my favorite levels in the whole game. The music is incredible. Scenery is vibrant and pretty, and the moves are really fun here, such as the wall jump, ceiling run, and those DKC barrel pitcher plants. You can even play as Scratay. She's basically the same, but she can glide really slowly. Besides that, this level's
fucking awesome.
The next level is... Let's just get this over with. Welcome to the bane of my childhood, aka expect the unexpected. So you first have to hitch a ride on this Pachycephalosaur and make him ram his head into this specific rock wall, which will unlock a hidden passage. You'll find yourself having to fight a hornet's nest, which will reveal a cave which slowly gets filled with poison gas. I swear, this part, it doesn't tell you where the hell to go, and I always died to it as a kid. I now know to go here, and the rest is smooth sailing. You kill the plants that spewed the gas, and you get introduced to the Spore Cannon, the most overpowered weapon of the whole game because it is literally a rocket launcher that can one-shot certain enemies. You get ambushed by some Guanlongs, do some platforming afterwards, and then get an onslaught of enemies, fight a Triceratops boss, do even more platforming, slither through this giant vine, and that's it. Honestly, the only really bad thing about this level is the gas section, but it's completely fine once you get used to it. The next level is Noisy Nightlife. It's a turret section where you play as Sid trying to make your adopted T-Rex kids go to bed. It's a turret section, what do you want me to say? The next level is Flight of the Pterodactyl, and it's a shmup. And sure, it's easy as hell, and it's decent, all things considered, I don't know. I just think it's charming. After that, it's on to Saving Sid, and it's a 2-part level with aerial dogfighting gameplay. It's way more dynamic as compared to the semi-snorefest that was the level before. You can spam shoot, and you can even get a Firefly special attack that makes a bunch of Fireflies home in on targets around you. Cool. You get to fight a giant wasp nest, fight flowers, and then get to that part 2 of this level. Yes, this level has a part 2, like I said, which you have a massive open space where you have to fight 10 plants, 25 pterodactyls, and go through 10 smoke hoops. This level's music is absolutely phenomenal. Rudy's Revenge is up next, and it's the last Sid chase level. Nothing more to say other than the music. And this is the final Scrat level, Scrat's Tar Pit Trouble. It's a Scrat level with good music. Moving on. it's time to talk about my favorite level, Grave Danger. Once you get to play as Buck once again, it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of things from the previous levels, such as ball rolling a la egg roll, vine slides and climbing, and even a semi-boss rush. I'm only semi because they aren't one up to another. There are barriers for the next parts of the level. But the best part of this level? The goddamn music. What is with these Ice Age games and good music? After this, it's the final battle against Rudy. It's kind of below average, really, quite a shame. You just go around the arena and shoot these Rafflesias with your Sporzuka, and then loosen the rocks around Rudy's head, which makes them fall on him. Dodge his bites and you'll be fine. And that's it for the main story, because that's not all. The crystals I've been collecting throughout the game unlock bonus features, like I've said. There are also challenge modes, which gives you a select number of levels, such as the Scrat levels and the Sid Chase levels, and you have to beat them in either your time or with the most amount of score. As a Pikmin 3 fan, these really tickle my fancy. Seriously, what does that even mean? There are also multiplayer games, but I'm really lonely and no one wants to play a fucking Ice Age game with me. There are also cheat codes, but I have no clue what they are. Oops. They're nowhere online. Overall, Ice Age 3 for console and PC is probably the best game so far by a landslide. Call it nostalgia. Oh, to hell with it. It is nostalgia. But I can tell that the developers had a field day with making this, from emulating the movie's art style to a T, to getting almost all the voice actors, and making the dialogue feel very much like the films. It's just oozing charm and sincerity. And sure, it may just be a tiny bit average. Like, the biggest problem for me is how not only Diego gets one level, and Manny only gets one section to himself, and every level has a different genre, just making me feel like this game has a serious case of ADHD, and like half the music is reused from the second game. But it still goes to show how much care and effort can be put into a licensed game. Next up is... oh boy. I played the 3DS version one time. I don't think I'm missing out on much. Also, the game was available on Steam one time, and now it's not. Also, I know that the handhelds of these games have been massively different from here on out, but this isn't the case, it's practically the same. So I'm just gonna lump it in with the console version. Just play Mario and Sonic at the Special Olympics if you want this genre done right. Sorry to all the 4 genuine fans of this game. Moving on. Now, the last Ice Age game released, so far, was Scrat's Nutty Adventure, released in 2019 by Just Add Water Games, the same developers behind I Am Bread. Not off to a good start. Anyway, I'm getting pretty tired, so I won't go as in-depth as I did last time. Sorry, guys. The plot of the game is that Scrat so happens to stumble upon the forgotten temple of the... Scratazons. Now, I like a good muscle mommy as much as the next guy, but... wait, where was I going with this? And so the ancient computer, I guess, gives Scrat trials to take part in all around the Ice Age world. That's literally it. No real reason why he's doing it, just because. And now Scrat is on his nutty adventure. Nutty in massive quotations. I'll be honest here, guys. This game is a slog. It's so boring. I was so bored by this cardboard box of a game that I had to listen to video essays and go on Discord voice calls just to keep my attention span slightly satisfied. The main collectible in this game is crystals. The more you collect, the higher your health bar goes up. You can also collect health as well as pieces of a stone tablet and a hidden character statue in every level. Your attacks are mostly from the Ice Age 2 console game, from rock throwing, ground pounding, and tail spinning. Most of it is all back. You can also get more moves once you finish every level, from the fucking double jump to the Scratapult, to even telekinesis. These new additions are pretty situational, and are part of one of the biggest problems I have with this game, which I'll get into later. Another problem, how can you not only market yourself as Scrat's first ever solo game when the Ice Age 2 console game exists, but also how the fact that that game had way more interesting moves like sniffing, special attacks, and even ziplining. Now, One thing that I like is how every world is based on an Ice Age film, with a boss battle based on the antagonist from said film to boot. For instance, first world, you fight Carl and Frank. Second world, you fight Cretaceous and Maelstrom, sort of? And you get the idea. What I love so much about these bosses is the sense of scale. You really feel like a small animal fighting against a huge monster. And I love that aspect of it, especially against Cretaceous. But yeah, otherwise, there are puzzles, so to speak, but they're so bare bones and boring, I just can't. You have take a peg and place it in a thing. Use telekinesis to move a block. More peg moving. More fucking peg moving, etc. The gameplay loop goes as follows. Attack enemies and bare bones platforming. The most boring and uninteresting puzzle I've ever finished. A good boss, and a way to leave the stage. Whether it be Tears of the Kingdom style cliff diving segments, Tak 2 style river rafting, and you get the picture. So let me just get back to the bigger problem I have with this game I brought up earlier on. So after you unlock telekinesis, you have full access to the rest of the optional places to explore in previous levels. You can see where I'm going with this. Backtracking, yay! It's even more unbearable in a game like this, where it's so agonizingly boring. I haven't even gotten to the graphics. Wow. You call this a step up visually from the previous Ice Age games? How is it that a game released 2 console generations ago and... Jesus, 15 fucking years ago is making the script? God, I'm getting old. Looks better than this... Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4 and 5, Steam, and even Google fucking Stadia 2019 game! I mean, sure, it was made by a more well-known developer, but I don't really think that's an excuse. And don't even get me started with the it's a kid's game BS, because even with my nostalgia goggles off, I still had a blast replaying the Ice Age 3 game. Even the DS game was more enjoyable than this. The soundtrack is snooze-worthy, and even when I played Ice Age 2 and 3 games soundtracks over this, I still couldn't keep my head high enough to even give a damn. So once you beat the dinosaur level, Scrat gets on the Scratazon UFO, and it's only assumed that he dies via death by Snoo Snoo. Fuck you. That's the ending. Oh, and those statues and tablet pieces that you collect, they just give you an image. Once again, fuck you. That's it. Please, don't even bother with this game. Save your $20. And that's about it. I was gonna talk about the Minecraft Bedrock exclusive Ice Age mashup pack and the Flash games, but this video is getting too long already. So, without further ado, here's every Ice Age game ranked from worst to best. Number 8, Scrat's Nutty Adventure. Sure, Ice Age 2 DS is subjectively worse, but at least I felt something playing it, albeit fuming rage. Number 7, Ice Age 2 DS. No comment whatsoever. Number 6, Ice Age Continental Drift Arctic Games. Not my type of game, sorry, even though it's technically a minigame collection. Number 5, Ice Age for the Game Boy Advance, a clunky first impression of the franchise's game life. Number 4, Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs for the DS. Decent and charming. You can tell the devs cared making it. Number 3, Ice Age 2 for the Game Boy Advance, a relaxing puzzle game, albeit a bit stressful at the end game, although the later game bosses suck. Number 2, Ice Age 2 for consoles. A very charming and comforting platforming. Nothing more, nothing less. And number 1, no surprise here, Ice Age 3 for console. What else do I have to say that I haven't already said? And that's the list. Whew. Once again, like, sub, thanks for watching, and see you next vid.